Hello to everyone, I am Indurok, and today I am playing Play Dead 2! So, case number 2, Spider, Puss, and the Screeching Weasels? What? Okay, let's just get right into it. Oh, okay, I almost thought I was actually in a browser or something for a second. Alright. So, I'm back! Someone suggested I set up a proper blog, so, here's that. Anyway, it seems that a few of you wanted to hear about some of our other monster mishaps, and I'm nothing if not a people pleaser, so here you go. Also, we're still at home, and if I don't look busy, Brian is going to drag me into some feng shui remodel of our shitty apartment, which I admit I wouldn't mind him doing, but I'm not getting suckered into moving a bunch of furniture to make up for his noodle arms. Corey. Wait a minute. Oh. Wait, that's not the voice I had for him. Oh, it was like something more like this or something? I don't remember. Therefore, I give you the thing in the basement of that venue in Chicago. That's a working title. On the surface, there was nothing unusual about this place, which I'm... Oh, wait, is that him talking? Which I'm withholding in the name... Which I'm withholding the name of because I don't want to be legally responsible if some wannabe monster hunter reads this and goes down there to harass the venue owners. Excuse me. Or worse, actually finds the thing. Anyway, it was kind of a little hole in the wall club, nothing extraordinary. The stage was about the size of a broom closet. Caleb, Brian, and I had all of like 3 feet between everyone's gear and falling into the crowd, and Savannah's drum kit was showed so far back that you could barely see her. Plus, the whole place shook when people jumped in the pit, and I didn't feel comfortable encouraging that as much as I normally would. The green room, meanwhile, was downstairs. It wasn't all that appealing to hang out in. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was a repurposed laundry room. And Ghost Dog is still there. Which has a couple of armchairs, a small couch, and about half of what was on our rider. Jeez, that is the smallest room I've ever seen. Okay. Apparently no one uses a venue. No one at the venue had wanted to entertain my request specifically for Red Sour Patch Kids. They're the best ones. Fight me. So I was stuck rooting around in the bag for them. I was sitting on one of the couches, scavenging for Red Sour Patches. While thumbing through a book I'd picked up some Midwestern truck stop about haunted places in America. Unsurprisingly, the house where we'd accidentally obtained the thief didn't make the list. The rest of my band lurked in the various other corners of the room. Savannah and Caleb were engaged in a heated game of Super Smash Brothers. Is that a Switch? Okay. And Brian was parked in one of the other chairs, reading some trashy hipster magazine. Thief was relaxing on the floor, as much as a ghost can relax. I'm still unclear on whether he actually sleeps or what, but that's what it looks like he was doing. Dogs sleep all the time, so like, yeah. Suddenly he picked his head up and tilted it, one ear raised slightly as he blinked a few times. Then his lips pulled back into a snarl. Brian and I looked up from our reading material, and Savannah and Caleb paused their game.
Hey, Thief, what's up?
Oh, there's voice acting. Caleb got up and took a few steps towards him. Thief stood, barked once, and took off through a wall of the green room.
Hey, wait!
Well, this takes all the fun out of me voice acting. Everybody. But then again, I can turn the voice volume down. But, I don't know. Caleb sprinted out the door after him. The rest of us watched as he disappeared down the hall.
Should we go with him?
Oh, that's what he sounds like. He doesn't sound like this at all.
Probably.
Savannah sighed, pushing herself off the couch.
Who knows what he'll get into?
Brian rolled his eyes, but put down whatever vegan mustache wax article he was reading and followed us out the door. That guy's good. Brian looks a little bit like me. I mean, what with the beard and the glass. Alright, the three of us followed Caleb down the hallway and found him standing at the end of it, staring at a door. Employees only. Obviously, you cannot go in there.
In there.
Caleb pointed at the door, which had a handwritten employees only sign taped to it. He tried the doorknob. It was locked.
So, do we ask the venue guys for a key, or...
And tell them what? Our ghost pet phased through the door and disappeared in there? Just leave it. He'll come back eventually. It's probably just a storage closet or something.
But what if he doesn't?
It was meant to be and he can stay here. Good riddance.
Okay. Caleb looked like a kicked puppy, and Savannah punched Brian in the arm.
Look, if he doesn't turn up, we'll find a way in there later. Come on. We're on in a few minutes.
Somewhat reluctantly, Caleb followed us back to the green room. The show went off only a few hitches, I guess. We had some weird feedback issues, and there was a strange clicking noise that the sound guy kept blaming us for, and we kept blaming him for because neither of us knew what was going on. These house audio guys are super hit and miss. Sometimes they're actual professionals, and sometimes they're somebody's cousin whose sound engineering resume consists of their high school play and a graduation party or two. But we can't afford to hire our own to bring out yet. We can't even afford a tour manager, so Savannah and I kind of split that job. I make sure everyone is where they need to be when they need to be there. And she handles all the finances. You know, maybe I will keep the voices on, because I remember how like my voice kind of was all after I played the first game. Alright, so she handles all the finances, including shaking down the promoters for our money and arguing with them about what percentage of the merch sales they were supposed to get. She usually wins. Of course, our merch sales weren't exactly stellar, considering that we changed the band name halfway through the tour and now had a bunch of shirts and stickers with the wrong name, because we're idiots and did not think about the consequences of that decision. We did hang out at the merch table for a while after our set, and managed to schmooze our way into a few sales by signing some autographs and taking selfies with the small handful of people who were actually excited to see us. I recognized a couple of them from other cities, and had to wonder how far they'd driven. Our fan base may be small, but I guess I'm glad we have one. That's more than a lot of hopeful musicians wind up with. I admit I'm still getting used to total strangers knowing who I am, though, and it makes me a little nervous. I've heard some real horror stories from other bands about stalkers and the like, not to mention that I'm terrified to accidentally offend someone and incur the wrath of the internet. The price of fame, I guess. Yeah, the internet can be a rough place. Anyway, speaking of consequences, of poor decisions, Thief still hadn't returned to the green room when we filed back at the end of the night. Caleb poked around the room, checking behind couches, under tables for any sign of his pet. Oh yeah, I forgot it was Caleb who brought him.
Okay, can we ask for a key to that room now?
I still don't know what you expect us to tell them.
I don't know, but we can't just leave them.
Sure we can.
Sure we can.
Or we could just pick the lock.
We all looked at her.
Do you know how to do that?
Of course.
Okay. She extracted a hairpin from her hair.
Wait, what about that time we locked ourselves out of the van and had to break a window?
Different kind of lock. Didn't have a clothes hanger. Come on.
Oh boy. We all watched curiously as Savannah fiddled with the lock on the employee door. It was pretty quiet at this point in the night. The venue was empty and the other bands were gone. Finally, the door swung open with a creak. Inside was a set of stairs leading down.
I thought we were already in the basement.
Huh. This must be the basement that goes straight to hell.
We are. I guess there's a sub-basement?
Right, because that's totally a thing normal buildings have.
What do you think is down there?
Demons? Rituals?
Only one way to find out.
Ghost dogs? Although, that one belongs to us. Savannah flipped on her phone flashlight and began to march down the stairs. Caleb hurried after her.
I'm really not sure that's a good idea.
Yeah, remember what happened last time we wandered into a dark, creepy place that we clearly weren't supposed to be in?
Fine. You wusses stay up there, and we'll go find the damn dog.
Brian and I looked at each other.
She's never going to let us live it down if we stay up here.
I know.
Yeah, she'll think we're
We
scared
always
or
have
something.
to do this shit.
He started down the stairs after them. I followed, flipping on my flashlight as well. Hoping that I had enough battery power. I did see a light switch at the top of the stairs and was hoping for one at the bottom, but the bottom was nowhere to be found. We hit a landing, and the stairs turned to face another direction, and then another where they reversed again. Oh, okay. Let's keep going. We decide to keep walking and descend another set of stairs. Keep going. Another landing, another stairwell. It was starting to get chilly. Should we keep going? There was still no sign of a light switch, or any sign of the bottom as we took another flight down. Holy crap! How long is this going to be? I swung my flashlight around, but everything other than the stairs we were on was shrouded in darkness. We continued our descent.
Okay, how the fuck long are these stairs? This is gonna take forever to get back up. Also, where are we?
I think I see the bottom.
He shined his light over Savannah's head. Sure enough, the last stair put us on solid ground, but there was still no light switch to be found, or a nearby wall for that matter.
Real talk, how deep are we?
Brian squinted into the darkness.
This has to be like stories below the ground. This is not a normal basement.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
Deep enough that there's no cell service.
I held my useless phone in the air.
That's our luck.
We're looking for a ghost dog. Nothing about this is normal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thief!
Where? I don't see a thief.
Hey, thief! Here, boy.
Oh, before we could shush him, we heard a bark in the distance. It echoed around the chamber a bit. We exchanged glances and began walking towards the sound. Walls were still nowhere in sight, and the floor was a little more than packed dirt. There was another bark every 10 or 20 seconds, allowing us to reorient ourselves in the right direction. We followed the sound of the barking. Note, headphones recommended for this part. Well, I have headphones. Oh. Oh. Wait. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I have such trouble remembering left from right. I don't know why. We followed the sound to the right. We followed the sound straight forward. We followed the sound to the left. Followed the sound to left. Straight forward. I realized, looking back, this was not the smartest idea, any more than going down the stairs in the first place. We were just put on our bad decisions tab.
Guys, how are we going to find the stairs again?
Oh.
We'll just go back the way we came.
Oh, no.
Okay, can you tell me which way that is?
Yeah, what is this? How far can I go? Oh, okay, I could go all the way back. Ha! I could just look back at the history. Alright.
It's...
Then I realized that I couldn't see shit and had no idea.
That's what I thought.
There was another bark and we kept moving towards it for a lack of a better option.
It really doesn't seem like we're getting any closer.
This place is a straight-up cavern.
Brian shined his flashlight around to either side. He almost dropped his phone when he shined it above us.
Oh, what the fuck?
What is... Oh, holy shit!
What? What is it? Oh! There was something hanging from the ceiling directly above our heads. A handful of shiny, wet black eyes blinked down at us, and a pointed tongue hung from something that was halfway between a jaw and a mandible. Sideways, but with rows of squarish, human-like teeth on either side. I wish I could see the whole thing. Oh, we can! And that is... kind of weird. The creature clicked them together once or twice, then launched itself off the ceiling and landed with a thud on the ground behind us. We spun around, the beams from our flashlights shaking as we began backing away. Those human teeth kind of make it more unsettling. I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Now that it was on the ground, I could see that the thing's body was a little more than a large, round, black fuzzball. Long hair hung off of it and swished back and forth when it moved. Its legs were, as stated in the previous story, somewhere between spider legs and tentacles. They were thicker, closer to its body, and the joints were sort of rounded, but there were visible joints. However, they had rows of what looked like suckers along the undersides. The thing clicked its teeth at us again and took a step forward. We continued shuffling backwards then when a familiar bark sounded again. Thief appeared in between us and the creature, wagging its tail and crouching down playfully, looking expectantly at the monster. Okay. That thing is not something to play with there, buddy.
Thief, get away from there!
He's already dead. He can't die again.
He's already dead.
Oh.
How much worse could it get?
It's literally what I just said.
I don't want to take that chance.
Dude.
Come here, Thief.
What's Thief gonna do? Thief, in true untrained puppy fashion, completely ignored him and hopped side to side, woofing occasionally at the monster. The creature, in turn, blinked at Thief with all of its eyes, then made a wiggling motion and also began hopping side to side, keeping low on the ground. What? What? Thief became extra excited and began running circles around the monster, periodically trying to nip at its feet. The monster continued to wiggle and click excitedly, its long fur swishing around as it and Thief took turns chasing each other around the room. Okay, so this thing isn't going to try and kill us, I guess. Or, I don't know.
Are they playing?
Apparently.
Well, it sure doesn't look like fighting.
Yeah. The dog and spider thing continued their game for another few minutes before seeming to tire each other out and returning to where we were standing. So, are we going to be friends with this giant spider now? Thief sat down in front of Caleb, its tail still wagging, and the creature spun around once before shaking itself out and clicking happily, plopping its abdomen down on the floor with a thud.
Does this mean you're ready to go?
Thief looked up at him and barked once, tongue hanging out of his mouth as usual. Caleb slowly bent down and picked Thief up, never taking his eyes off the spider, which was now sitting calmly and watching us with some curiosity.
So, how do we get out of here?
At that, the creature perked up and instinctively stepped back as it got to its feet and began making its way towards us, feet making a soft tapping noise on the dirt. Huh? However, it scuttled right past us, stopping on the opposite side and looking back expectantly, clicking a few times. He wants us to follow. Yeah.
think it wants us to follow it.
Is that really a good idea?
Dude, like, we're already deep into this shit. What?
Got any better ones?
No.
Then, we're following the giant fuzzy spider.
The giant fuzzy friendly spider. Reluctantly, we began to follow the spider spider-puss. We still couldn't see much, so we walked close together until finally the stairs came into view. Oh, looky! At that point, we all but sprinted the rest of the way, hitting the wooden planks and beginning to jog up. I paused once on the way and waved awkwardly at the spider-puss.
Thanks.
It clicked placidly in response, which I took as you're welcome, and hurried to catch up with the others. Okay. However, we had, in our rush to escape, forgotten exactly how many stairs there were. By the time we actually made it to the top, we were all wheezing and drenched in sweat, except Savannah, who exerted this kind of energy on the regular while drumming and had to keep stopping to let us catch up. Okay, as we practically fell through the door and back into the basement hallway, the production manager came strolling down the stairs, whistling merrily. He stopped abruptly, and we locked eyes.
Thought you guys were gone.
We forgot something.
He looked past us at the open door.
You went down there, huh?
Yeah.
You, met Bessie, I take it?
Ah, okay. So she's like your pet or something.
It has a name?
Of course she does.
It's a she?
Well,
Hell, as far as I know. Well, what'd you forget?
At that moment, Thief chose to materialize out of thin air on the floor in front of me, barking and wagging as usual. The man looked down at the dog, then back at us.
Oh.
I suddenly decided that whatever the answers were to any of my other questions, I didn't want them. Yeah, this guy's not surprised to see a ghost dog if he has a giant spider living in his basement.
Yeah, we're just gonna go now. Long drive, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You do that, yeah.
Without another word, we hurriedly made our way out of the venue, got into the van, and sped away as fast as we could without getting a ticket. Okay. No one spoke for a long while, and eventually I realized that Caleb and Brian, as well as Thief, were sleeping soundly in the back seat. Shortly after, Savannah passed out in the passenger seat, and I drove us on into the night. I did a little digging around online later to see if anything even remotely close to the Spider-Puss had ever been seen before, and nope, nada. The closest thing I found were a handful of folklore spider monsters from other countries and various Native American tribes, and a kraken, but Bessie didn't really match the description of any of them. Excuse me. Okay. I have to admit, it was a bit of a relief to know that there are other people who deal with weird stuff on the regular floating around. Clearly, that production manager was aware of the monster in their basement, and I'm betting there were other employees who knew too. But that begs the question, what else is out there? As it turns out, a lot of things, but those are stories for other days. Actually, you know what? That one was kind of short, wasn't it? I think we have time for one more. Bear with me, I'm still working out a format for all of this. Wait, is there going to actually be another one? Oh. In the next few days, much to our relief, pretty normal, or at least normal as your ghost dog sticking his head out the van window just by phasing it through the glass could get anyway. However, that all came to a screeching halt when we crossed the state line into North Dakota. Despite being well into what should be spring, places like this were still getting showered with snow. We stopped in some small town. That's like freaking Canada kind of weather. Spring and snow, they go together. We stopped in some small town somewhere to get gas and make a grocery run before we spend all our money on fast food. Not that there was much you could keep a couple of coolers in a cramped van. And when I say small town, I mean there was like one main street and a couple of side streets. And everything after that was woods and fields. It was pretty isolated. There wasn't another town for miles as far as I could tell. The local residents were cheery enough, considering this weather. And a lot of them were going about their business in t-shirts. I guess anything above freezing is a heat wave in places like that. The weather didn't bother me, personally. Growing up in Nebraska will do that to you. I live in Canada, so yeah, we get snow for like half a year. Brian was in a similar boat, coming from Seattle, though he was more used to rain than snow. Our home base is in Arizona now, but I don't think either of us have gotten used to the dry heat there. Caleb and Savannah, on the other hand, have spent their entire lives in desert country, relocating from South California to Tucson, where the four of us met. Those two were bundled up in every article of winter clothing they had packed, walking around like Stay Puft Marshmallow people. Anyway, we filled up the van and then made our way to the town's tiny food mart. It was a small mom-and-pop shop. Apparently, Walmart and Costco hadn't managed to sink their claws into this place yet. The selection wasn't great, but it was better than McDonald's.
Remember, absolutely no dairy. That shit doesn't keep. Also, Brian almost pukes every time he so much as smells milk.
Then he should stay in the car or something.
Because being lactose intolerant is my fault.
And Caleb, lay off the Slim Jims. You're gonna turn into one if you keep eating those things.
Caleb made a pouty face and shuffled dejectedly away behind Savannah. Brian and I headed in the opposite direction of Caleb and Savannah, occasionally shoving things into a grocery basket. Brian bought a jumbo bag of fruit and nut trail mix, and I carefully inspected a bag of Granny Smith apples before adding them to the basket.
You know you're literally the only person who likes those, right?
Yeah, so no one takes them. Also, there's that saying about apples and keeping doctors away. And my health insurance is garbage, so I need to stay far away from the doctors.
Okay.
Right, because we picked such a safe career option.
Yeah, one that takes us into deep, dark dungeons where we meet giant spiders. Well, I don't think that would be a dungeon. That's just a basement. So,
Yeah, there's not really any going back now.
Don't you actually have a degree? Why not get a job in that field?
Sure, if you see any historian openings, let me know.
You know, I never saw you as the academic type.
Honestly, me either. Can you imagine me in, like, a sweater and khakis, teaching a class?
Brian looked briefly like he was trying to picture that before he burst out laughing.
Is it that ridiculous of an image?
No, it's just... I imagined it with the baseball cap.
Okay, yeah, that might be kind of ridiculous. My mouth slowly twitched into a smile, then a laugh, and a moment later, we were getting funny looks from other customers as we cracked up in the middle of the produce aisle. Okay. Meanwhile, Savannah and Caleb were apparently having their own grocery adventure.
We're not buying an entire box of cereal.
Well, why not? She snatched the box of crunch berries out of Caleb's hand and put it back on the shelf.
We can't even get milk to put in it.
Don't need milk.
Well, I mean, yeah. You can eat cereal without milk. Well, I wouldn't eat Rice Krispies without milk. That is something I will not eat without milk.
Crunch berries are good dry.
No cereal is good dry.
Come on. Savannah handed him a box of Pop-Tarts instead. Caleb examined the box, swapped it for another flavor, and then put that in the basket. As they made their way through the store, Caleb paused at the end of an aisle, then darted down it, grabbed something, and sneakily shoved it into the basket before Savannah noticed. She confessed later that she had no idea how he did this, and perhaps we'd underestimated what he was capable of when motivated by food. As they walked past the meat section, Savannah paused.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Huh? Please do not feed the animals. Caleb looked at the sign she was pointing at and read it out loud.
Please do not feed the animals. What? The steaks?
How do you feed a chunk of dead cow meat?
No, I think it means, like, don't feed the meat to animals or something, huh? What about that?
Maybe they're ghosts, like Thief.
You don't feed thief either.
True.
Oh, good point.
As they proceeded forward, things got stranger.
Hey, what's that on the floor?
What? Savannah took a few steps closer to the pink and white pile on the tile floor.
It's meat.
Sure enough, one of the packages of raw chicken had been torn open and half eaten. Half melted Sure enough, one of the packages of raw chicken had been torn open and a half-eaten, half-melted thigh lay on the ground.
What kind of store is this?
Talk about cleanup on aisle 5.
Savannah looked around and spotted an employee walking by.
Excuse me.
She jogged up to her and pointed at the pile of poultry flesh on the ground. Sorry, molten? I don't know what the hell how I came up with that. The employee followed her gaze.
Oh, again? All right, I'll get the mop. Thanks.
Again? Heh. With that, she casually strolled away, humming to herself, leaving a very confused Savannah in her wake.
Okay, that's it. We're leaving.
She grabbed Caleb by the sleeve and dragged him away. Brian and I were already in the checkout line when Savannah and Caleb approached, looking quite unsettled.
You guys look like you've seen a ghost.
Okay. The joke didn't get much of a response out of him.
Everything okay?
There's something weird going on in this place. We should go.
Brian and I exchanged glances.
Like, weirder than normal for us?
I'm not sure, but I don't want to stick around and find out.
Excuse me. Refilled on supplies, we got back into the van and set off down the snowy road out of town. It didn't take long for the houses to give way to trees and wilderness again. Do not disturb wildlife. Okay. On the way out, there was a large wooden sign with "Do Not Disturb Wildlife" spray painted in big red letters. I just thought it was kind of weird, but in retrospect, Savannah and Caleb seemed pretty unnerved by it. Whoa, okay. As we proceeded down the tree-lined road, I slammed on the brakes as something darted across it. The van skidding in the snow a bit before coming to a stop.
What did you do that for?
Did none of you see that?
See what?
There was an animal or something in the road.
What kind of animal?
I'm not sure. It was white, I think.
That narrows it down. Let's go. This place weirds me out.
Okay. I pressed the gas pedal and the van moved onward. About a half a mile later, I let it slowly drift to a stop again.
Now what?
Oh! I pointed at something up ahead. In the snow was a puddle of something bright red and kind of chunky. This time I received no snarky commentary. I nudged the van closer to the puddle, finally stopping a few feet from it and opening the driver's door.
What are you doing?
Investigating. What else?
I ignored Brian and Savannah's protests and climbed out. The puddle was just as gross up close as it had been from a distance. Red blood with chunks of pink and white flesh and a few bits of hairy skin. Though it was hard to tell what color it had been, there was a trail of blood leading further into the woods. Might be a good idea to just leave.
You're not thinking about following that.
Yeah, just leave.
I am.
No.
You understand why that's a bad idea, right?
Yes, but I'm not going to be able to live with myself if there's a person on the other end of this, and we just left them here.
Okay.
Should we maybe just call the police?
Sure, if there's anything to call them about.
I heard Brian muttering to Savannah as I walked away.
What's gotten into him?
Oh. Thankfully, I didn't actually go very deep into the woods, and what I found in the end was approximately half a deer, not a human. The other half was nowhere in sight. Okay.
What do you think did that?
You're not disturbed by it? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, unless you guys, like, do hunting or something. I don't know. Caleb followed me into the clearing where the deer was. Thief was behind him and tilted his head curiously at the dead animal. It was mostly the front half of the deer that had remained, although a good portion of the face looked like it had been... Though a good portion of the face looked to have been either eaten or disintegrated. Bits of the skull shone bright white, like some chemical had been used to strip the flesh off.
Not sure, but we probably don't want to meet it.
We began to turn back, but suddenly Thief's hackles raised, and he began growling loudly, letting out a few barks in the direction of the woods opposite us.
That cannot be good.
I grabbed Caleb and we took off back towards the van. Oh! There was an ear-splitting screech as something darted out of the trees towards us. It was moving too fast to get a good look, and frankly, I didn't want to know. Oh, wow. They look like weasels or something. I found out anyway when I heard a yell from the direction of the van. When we emerged back onto the road, Savannah and Brian were staring down a group of very hungry-looking creatures that had them surrounded. They looked like some kind of large weasel, but with glowing eyes and sharp teeth that seemed too big for their mouths. They were hissing angrily, some jumping forward and back jumping forward and back, snapping their fangs at us.
I think I know what killed the deer.
Yeah, and it looks like it might kill us too. Unless, by some miracle, they become friendly. I spun to face another group of the things that had appeared behind Caleb and I, blocking us all in. A couple of them were drooling, and the saliva hissed and steamed as it hit the ground, instantly melting the snow. That's kind of weird, but... Well, I mean, it's like when... never mind. A thief had appeared in front of Caleb, still snarling and snapping back at the animals. They seemed mostly interested in Caleb for some reason, and several of the ones that had cornered Savannah and Brian were moving in his direction, noses twitching as if they smelled something intriguing. One of the creatures spit a gob of saliva at Caleb and he danced out of the way, nearly running into me. The ground sizzled where it hit.
You know, eaten by mutant weasels isn't the way I expected to go out.
Yeah.
Well, we survived the zombie and the spider monster. Our luck had to run out eventually.
We didn't survive the spider monster. The spider monster didn't do anything to us.
True. I guess meat is meat to these guys.
Yeah. Suddenly something seemed to occur to Caleb. He reached into his jacket pocket, digging around for a minute and dumping out an assortment of receipts and candy wrappers before apparently finding what he was looking for. Oh!
Fur balls!
Okay, wait, what is that? He held a handful of plastic-wrapped sticks in the air.
Looking for a snack?
The weasels had turned to look at what was in his hand, taking the focus off the rest of us. Caleb chucked the handful of sticks as far as he could, and they landed with a plop in the snow without missing a beat. The gaggle of creatures whipped around and descended on the spot, becoming a hissing, wriggling mass as they fought over whatever Caleb had thrown. What are those? We rushed back into the van, doors still slamming shut as I turned the key and the engine roared to life. I'm pretty sure we ran over a couple of the weasels as the tires screeched, and we hauled ass out of there. Boy. A few minutes later, once we felt we were safely away from the horde, Savannah turned to Caleb.
What did you throw back there?
Caleb grinned and extracted a box of something from one of the grocery bags, holding it up.
I thought I told you to lay off the Slim Jims.
Oh, I don't know what Slim Jims are. I don't freaking know.
They aren't Slim Jims. They're
He paused, reading the box.
Nice Mart brand processed meat sticks.
Oh. Okay. The rest of us just sighed. Anyway, that's about all I have. That's about all I've got for now. I've never figured out what the weasels were either. I'm hardly a biologist, but Wikipedia couldn't point me to any species of weasel that spits acid and preys on fully grown deer. If anyone has any ideas what they were, definitely let me know. The closest thing I could find in terms of mythology was a Japanese monster called a Kamaitachi. I had to ask Savannah how to pronounce that. I've watched anime. I've watched enough anime to have an idea how to pronounce that. Kamaitachi? I don't know. Whether that's actually correct, I don't know. That's about the best guess I have. Which honestly sounds scarier than what we encountered, and some creatures from Dungeons & Dragons. The intriguing part about it is that the locals definitely knew about them, so it's hard to believe that no one has alerted the biology authorities. I guess that's just the sort of thing that gets accepted in small towns. The Spider-Puss and the Screeching Weasels proved one thing: the haunted house in the woods wasn't an isolated incident. This stuff is everywhere, and every town could be hiding its own monstrous secret. I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about that. Anyhow, I think I just heard Brian drop something heavy that he probably had no business picking up, so I guess I should go make sure he's not dying or anything. Signing off for now. Okay. Voiceover. Oh, that's Savannah and Thief. Okay. Jeffrey M. Butler. Oh, that's the same girl. And the screeching weasels. You just do a lot of animals, don't you? And blah, blah, blah. Okay. Music. Okay, alright. Made in Rentai. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. I don't know. Alright, whatever. Anyway, that was very cool. I didn't expect that they would have added had voice acting in it. I thought I was gonna end up doing a bunch of voices myself. But I guess there's nothing wrong with having the voice acting, because it gives my voice a break from having to switch between different voices for different characters. So, yeah, I guess that's all there is to show for that. So, I'll be looking forward to more games from these guys. I don't remember if I'm actually following them on Game Jolt. Hang on. No, I am not. I guess I better do that. There we go. Followed. Okay, so, I guess I might as well just end my video now. So, yeah, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.